Isn't that a multiple star system, by the way?
Yes, it is. Vega is, the main one you see is Vega A. The other one is very small, very similar to the Pup, the smaller star next to Sirius, the bright star in Canis Major, the big dog. The next star, if we can bring up that image, is Deneb. Now, Deneb is deceptive. It looks as bright as the nearby stars Vega and Altair, but it's not. It's 3,200 light years away, which means just one thing, Don.
It's very big and very bright.
It most certainly is. In mileage, you're talking somewhere around, I've lost my numbers, 3,200, 19,200 trillion miles. So in order to be as bright as the other two, it's got to be much larger and very much brighter.
Indeed.
Let's go ahead and talk about the constellations those three are in. We'll bring up the first one, which is Lyra, the musical harp. Now you can see Vega dominating the top, and just underneath it you'll see what appears to be a slightly distorted rectangle.
Sort of a parallelogram?
Exactly, like a parallelogram. The story behind the harp was there was a musician who was renowned for his music.
It was Orpheus.
Orpheus.
Yes.
Now Orpheus had suffered a great loss. His wife was killed, and he was determined he couldn't live without her. So using just the music and his harp, he walked his way playing all the way down to the throne of Hades, the god of the underworld. And he asked for his wife so he could bring her back to Earth to live out their lives. And he played a piece of music that was so beautiful, it was the only time that the god of the underworld was actually moved to tears. He granted Orpheus' wish on one condition. He couldn't look at his wife until they returned to the Earth. So they're walking back out of Hades, heading back toward the Earth, and his wife didn't say a word. And a great fear built up in Orpheus' mind that his wife really wasn't there. And just before they got back to Earth, he turned around and looked. She disappeared back into Hades, and he only saw her again when he himself died and joined those in the underworld. To honor his music, Zeus placed his harp up amongst the stars.
Interesting story.
It really is. And it's a beautiful little constellation. Now, if you look at the bottom two stars of the parallelogram, there is a beautiful puff of smoke. This is what the sun may look like in about 5 billion years when it dies. This is the Ring Nebula, known as Messier number 57. A long time ago, there was a sun-like star. When it exhausted its fuel, it collapsed and blew much of its material out into space, forming what looks like to be a ring. Now, these little nebulas, or clouds, used to be called planetary nebulas because they were round like a planet. But this is looking from the top down into the nebula.
We're sort of looking down a tunnel, as it were?
Exactly. In fact, if you looked at it from the side, it would look like an hourglass.
Oh, okay.
The next constellation we'll talk about is the one with the closest star, and that'll be Aquila the Eagle. And we'll bring up that chart. It features one bright star, Altair, the closest one in the night sky, and you're supposed to see an eagle out of that. It doesn't have a lot of very bright deep sky objects, no star clusters, no nebulas, but it's in a very rich part of the Milky Way. There are lots and lots of stars. In fact, sweeping the Milky Way with a good pair of binoculars might be the best way for a beginner to really get to understand and enjoy the Milky Way and all those stars you're looking at. Our last constellation of the big three is going to be Cygnus the Swan.
Okay, its nickname is the Northern Cross because of its distinctive shape, right?
Exactly. The Swan features several bright stars. The biggest one and the brightest, of course, is Deneb. Now, the Swan also has an interesting pair of stars called Albireo. That's actually a double star. One blue and one gold. And for that, many people in this part of the world consider it the University of Michigan double star.
The maize and blue.
Exactly. And it's actually one of the best double stars to look at in a telescope or a pair of binoculars. But they have to be fairly large binoculars.
I've looked at it myself, and it's truly beautiful.
It most certainly is. It also features a beautiful cloud left behind when a star basically destroyed itself in a supernova explosion. In the eastern or the lower part of the wing, off the tip, is the Veil Nebula. Now, the veil is basically when stars die through a supernova explosion, their material is scattered throughout space. And looking at it through a low-power telescope or a good pair of binoculars, the veil looks like its name describes it as.
Aren't there several sections to the veil?
That's correct. One of the sides looks like a witch's broom, and it is called that. And you can't see the veil in one telescope field of view. You need to move the telescope around because it needs some high power to be seen. And by increasing the magnitude or the power of the telescope, you limit how much you can see of the veil. And it is a very, very large cloud. It measures in light years in distance.
Now, this is an object that can't be seen with the naked eye.
Not with the naked eye and not anywhere close to a city. You would need a really dark sky. Or you would use a certain filter for a particular frequency of light, which would make it pop out at you. An oxygen 3 filter is what we refer to. It allows certain objects to be seen more clearly, and it filters out the rest of the background light of the stars in our Milky Way.
Now, you mentioned a few minutes ago about our viewers taking binoculars along the Milky Way. What other types of things can they see, or what would they encounter with those binoculars scanning our home galaxy?
Well, if you're following the summer Milky Way, you would be able to see a couple of nebulas. The Lagoon, there's the Horseshoe or the Omega Nebula. Those are both bright enough you can see them. There are also several globular clusters. One is next to Antares in the Scorpion. M5 and M20 are two very nice compact globular or globe-like clusters of stars.
There's also a couple of open clusters that I like to check out with binoculars, M6 and M7, between Sagittarius and Scorpius. They're beautiful. They just really pop out nice in a pair of 8x40s.
Yeah, with telescope or binoculars, the summer Milky Way offers a target-rich environment for your enjoyment.
There's just so much to see in the summer sky. It does get dark late, so you have to stay up late to be able to see it. You don't get cold, but you do have to battle the mosquitoes for a while. But I think the battle is well worth it.
Absolutely. You get only about 5 to 6 hours of darkness during this time of year because summer started back in June on the 21st. So you get a lot of daylight and not much darkness. There is actually three other constellations I'd like to talk about if we could, Don.
We have just about a minute left.
Okay. The next one is one of my favorites because it doesn't get much notice from most astronomers, but the public, especially kids, love it. And that is Delphinus, the dolphin. It looks like a diamond with a small little tail. And it is, they're all beautiful stars, and it's a very small, in fact, the third smallest star constellation in the nighttime sky. Also in this same area, we have Sagitta the Arrow, and we also have Vulpecula. And Vulpecula is called the Little Fox. And that's because it's the second smallest constellation in the sky. It takes not much space up in the sky.
It sounds like a fun area for kids to look at to find these animals that they would really enjoy. I want to thank you, John, for being here today to talk about the constellations and star lore of summer. If you have any questions, you can send us an email. You can see the address there down at the bottom of your screen. And in a moment, we'll be back with Term of the Month. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is the astronomical term of the month for July 2011. Our term is aphelion. You're probably wondering, what is that? Aphelion is a place in the Earth's orbit where it is farthest from the Sun. Now, the Earth does not orbit the Sun in a perfect circle. It has an elliptical or slightly oval orbit. Perihelion, when we're closest to the Sun, occurs on January the 3rd, while aphelion will happen early in July, also on the 3rd, the day before the 4th of July. Now, even though we're farther away from the Sun, it is the hottest month of the year, so most people wonder why. And that's because the northern pole in the northern hemisphere of the Earth is leaning toward the Sun, giving us long days, short nights to cool off, and bringing on the heat of summer. So the astronomical term of the month is aphelion, the Earth farthest away from the Sun.
While progress should never come to a halt, there are many places it should never come to at all. So we work locally with communities, businesses, and people like you to save precious places around the world, forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places.
Hi, welcome to What's Up for July 2011. My name is John Schroer, and I'm a member of the Ford Amateur Astronomy Club. There are a few things that somebody who's discovering the hobby of astronomy should prepare for when they're going out to look at the wonders of the night sky for summer. Number one, you've got to prepare to protect yourself from the state bird of Michigan. You know, the mosquito. So bring lots of repellent, and also bring something cool to drink and something to snack on. The more comfortable you are, the longer you want to stay out and enjoy the wonders of the universe. We'll start, as always, with the phases of the moon. July is one of the longest months of the year. A day was taken from February and plunked into this month by the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, giving us 31 days. The new moon will start on the 1st of July, and then we go to the first quarter moon, which would be on the 8th. If you were standing on the line between darkness and light at that particular place and time, you would see a sunrise on the moon. The full moon in July will be on the 15th, followed 8 days later by the third quarter moon, visible in the early morning sky on the 23rd. And then on the 30th, we have a second new moon for the month. Now, a lot of times we get questions of why does the moon go through phases? And it's all based on the sun and the position of the moon around the Earth. New moon is when the moon is facing towards the sun, and the side that faces us on the moon, which it does all the time, is receiving no light from the sun. That is the new moon. We then move on to a crescent moon when we get to see a little bit of the moon now being lit by the sun. The first quarter moon, the moon is equally in light and dark. And then on the 15th, the moon is on the other side of the Earth, receiving all the light it can from the sun on the side facing us. Third quarter moon, again, we only see half of the side facing us receiving light, and then we start back on the 30th with another new moon. There is one planet located in the sky, and that is Saturn. You'll find it low in the southwest by western sky in the constellation of the Lady Virgo. To find it is fairly straightforward. We'll zoom in for a closer view. You will look for a bright blue star, which is the brightest star in Virgo, called Spica. It is very blue in color. Look to the right of it, and you will see a very bright whitish light, which is the ringed wonder Saturn. When you're looking at Saturn, you're seeing what it looked like 79 minutes ago, because sunlight bouncing off of Saturn has to travel more than 900 million miles to reach your eyes on the Earth. Well, that concludes What's Up for the Night Sky for July of 2011. Please go out and enjoy the wonders of our sky.